What is happening, people? It's a beautiful Sunday. It's 18 degrees, which is basically tropical temperatures in the UK. And yeah, I've got some coconut water, I've got some beetroot. So yeah, we're living life. And I have to talk for 30 odd minutes here. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. This is the first time I've done something like this. So we will just, we'll just plow on. I do want to say that if I make more of these and this becomes like a regular thing, that I don't want it to be about me. Like I want these to essentially just provide value in some form or fashion to whoever may come across it, right? Whether that's tomorrow or 20 years from now, who knows? That said, I feel like just because this is the first one, I'll sort of just give you a general background about why I train the way I do and my sort of philosophy around training and my experiences thus far. So yeah, full body essentially is how I've trained for 90% of my, lifting career, if you want to call it that. It's how I started. I just sort of fell into it, I think it's how a lot of people start, really. It's just programmed kind of poorly most of the time. But yeah, I have used full body in essentially all of its varieties for most of my training career, and it's what I've got the majority of my gains from. A lot of it has to do with being inspired by, the Silva era, and how they trained, how they viewed training. I deep dived into what they did because they were sort of the last generation of lifters before steroids became like widely available. I think steroids came onto the market like widely accessible in like the 50s, maybe the mid 50s. I could be wrong about that, but yeah, basically any of the lifters pre 1950-ish, you'll notice that they did actually train full body, like the vast majority of them. If you go back and look at these routines, they're all full body. So yeah, right now I am training full body every other day, one set per exercise. Some muscle groups I may have multiple exercises, other muscle groups I may just have one. That's just dependent on what I'm prioritizing, what I feel I need to work on, what I care most about, and just like personal preferences, things of that nature. But yeah, so it's essentially just full body every other day, one set per exercise. And yeah, that's it. It's very simple. It's super easy to program. There's a misconception that full body is really difficult to program, and it only becomes difficult to program when you're muddying the waters with other variables, and yeah, that's a whole different discussion. So yeah, right now I am actually in the process of moving towards an AB type setup. Now, for most of my time on full body, I've always done like an ABC type setup with the heavy, light, medium system, and that's worked, an absolute treat. And I think it still would work, but I'm noticing that right now, given my level of advancement, that the more often I repeat an exercise, the greater progress I see. So instead of essentially splitting my exercise variation throughout the week on an ABC type setup, I've just got essentially 2 sessions that I rotate between, and honestly it's already getting closer to just 1 session, where I'll stack the variation just in that 1 or 2 sessions and rotate it. So for example, take chest, right? On an ABC setup, you might do a flat press on A, a fly on B, and then an incline press on C. Whereas I'm moving more towards, on workout A, I just do a flat press and a fly, and workout B, I might do an incline press and a fly. And that is already moving towards just a single workout that's repeated every single time. So that would be like a flat press, an incline press, and a fly, and then you just hit that every other day. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at, and I'm seeing really, really good progress, and I've always seen the best progress with this type of training. And I think for natural lifters, it really is the way. I haven't come across someone who doesn't move to like a full body training program using these principles that doesn't accelerate their progress significantly. You have to individualize it to a certain extent, of course, especially as you get more and more advanced. But yeah, I think that sort of covers it. So I guess I'll just start talking about some of these clips. And yeah, this pullover I've reintroduced, and it's finally a chest and tricep exercise for me, because until very recently my chest and my triceps actually were so far behind and weak that my lats would just take over. So even though it should be technically a chest and a triceps exercise, my lats would just take over because they're way stronger and my chest couldn't handle it, so it would just sort of tap out, so yeah, that's really good. I'm using it for chest and triceps. You get some long head of the tricep, and here we have Fat Grip Preacher hammer curls. This is another staple. All of these are staples. My exercise selection doesn't really change now these days. But yeah, fat grips I use on literally every single curl now, because I just get so much more bicep and forearm activation. Obviously you get more forearm activation, but yeah, I get a ton more bicep as well, regardless of wrist position. So that's a really worthy addition. Every set just feels so much more stimulating. This is a Smith Machine front foot elevated lunge, or split squat, and this is sort of, we can get into the weeds of personalizing exercise selection and stuff. This is one of the things I have definitely individualized. My my quad training in general sort of goes against the grain, but that's a topic we can maybe save for another time. All you need to know is that these are very effective for me. Yeah, this is a dumbbell fly. This is on, I think, session A, and I've got pec deck as my fly variation on session B, and I may just, like, moving forward, I may just use the pec deck on both days, because there's no real value in there's no specific value that the dumbbell fly brings that I can't get from the pec deck, and it's just sort of needless variation. And I'm fine with like training monotony, like I could literally come in and do the same thing every day, never change it, and I'd be happy as Larry. So yeah, I might just use the pec deck as my fly variation on both sessions, because why not? I'll probably see faster progress with it. Yeah, and here we have leg extensions. Again, I've changed my technique quite significantly this year, sort of across the board, but with leg extensions, pointing my toes forward, I find I get a little bit more VMO, and yeah, it just feels good, and I've slowed things right down. You could say it gets more out of less weight, but also it just helps me when I just slow things down. Like, I'm naturally quite a slow lifter anyway, and when I lean into that, I just find I get a lot more out of every set, you know what I mean? So I'm kind of playing to my own strengths, but at the same time, I do actually get more out of it. If I got more out of being more explosive, I'd do that. But I haven't found that to be the case for me. So yeah, you'll probably notice my execution on most lifts is very slow. That was a normal good morning. On the B session, I do a stiff leg version of that, and that is a variation that I will keep because I do really like both, and I think both have their own value. But they're so close anyway that they'll sort of progress together. Hamstring curl, I'll talk about that machine overhead press as well. I may introduce that on the second session. I'll see how recovery goes for pressing in general, because you just sort of have to, it's something worth keeping an eye on, especially as I do need to bring up my chest, and if I'm doing a ton of shoulder pressing, then that will sort of eat up into my recovery a little bit. So yeah, that's just something for me to keep an eye on. I probably will put it on both sessions and see how it goes. So yeah, I have Lou raises as well. These are super underrated. They're so good. I barely see anyone do them. They're obviously going to progress very slowly, but after a certain point, everything does. Isolation's just even more so. But yeah, they're absolutely amazing for that lateral delt, general shoulder mobility and health as well. I'm lucky I've never really had any shoulder problems. I don't know whether it's because I do things like this or whether it's just luck of the draw. There's no way to tell. But yeah, I do really like these, and I do wish I saw more people do them. I think they're a very effective exercise that just don't get as much love as they deserve, and you can really grind them out. I also technically drop set into lateral raises on these because it's low hanging fruit. Like, it's not gonna burn you out just doing some lateral raises after you failed on the loo raises. It's worthwhile stimulus, so you might as well just take it. These are probably going to go along with the upper back version of them. So this is like a lat biased row. I'm keeping my elbows tucked in, driving them back and engaging the lats as like the prime pulling muscle. But yeah, I've recently introduced Kelso shrugs, and I'm finding them so effective that I might just drop rows altogether. Use Kelso shrugs for upper back, and then just focus on vertical pulling variations, because my upper back is way ahead of my lats anyway. Maybe not way ahead, but definitely further ahead. So just doing Kelsos and then focusing more on vertical pulls is, yeah, probably the way to go for me at the moment. So yeah, we'll move in that direction. Here's the upper back version. The only difference is I'm doing overhand and, you know, pulling through scapular retraction. You know, pretty basic stuff really. But sorry, a bit of indigestion. Before that you had the abductions. Again, I'm a big advocate for gluteus maximus training in general. I don't think enough people actually train them properly. I used to do super heavy split squats, and that covered the vast majority of the glute work I needed. You know, I was doing more than 3 plates on Smith machine split squats, but because I've recently discovered a few new movements, pardon me, that sort of isolate my quads and hamstrings out a little more, I don't have room for the split squats, so I've introduced hip thrusts, which I'm sure you'll see, and then abductions. I hit those every session, and yeah, I think it's just really important, even if you're like a strength guy, you know. If you care about strength at all, then, you know, training your glutes properly is just going to help your squats and deadlifts. So yeah, 100% get on it, 100%. This JM press, this is another relatively new find for me, because when I got quite lean at the start of this year, I noticed that my triceps were surprisingly far behind my biceps and forearms. So I started experimenting with some movements, and I stumbled across the incline JM press, but that ended up giving me a little bit of unnecessary shoulder wear and tear for whatever reason. It's probably a me issue, not an exercise issue, you know, but either way, I found that just doing them flat rather than incline turned it into an S tier an S tier lift for me specifically. So yeah, I've been focusing on those. They're going really well. Preach curls, again, fat grip, because every curl I do is fat grip now. And I do very much recommend you try it, especially if you're a more advanced guy. Yeah, I love these. It's probably my favorite. Oh no, maybe this is my favorite curl variation. Reverse preach curls. Again, a bit of a new one, because I used to just do them freestanding, and I'd put a lot of oomph into them. And I worked up to like 50 kilos for I think I did a set of 4 with 50 kilos, and they were ugly, you know. But yeah, I did get relatively strong on them, but I get so much more out of these, and I'm using like absolute baby weight here. I mean, I've got the fat grips on as well, but what's this, like 20 kilos, and it's after the preacher curls, blah blah blah, all of this cope. But the fact is, this is baby weight, but I'm getting so much out of them, and my forearms are growing even more, despite them already being a strong point. So yeah, here you go. You see the Kelsos. Yeah, I'm really liking these. It just takes all of the unnecessary stuff that you get from a row, and it just like eradicates it. Doesn't mean rows are bad. I think, yeah, maybe they're just fit for purpose, you know. Like when you're a novice or an intermediate, like you just need to get stronger at everything and just focus on basic movements. But when you're sort of past that stage, yeah, your exercise selection becomes more important, and you find things like the value of things changes. And I'm just finding that Kelsos are way more valuable than actual rowing for me. Yeah, I'm loving them, honestly. And they're progressing nicely. They're quite new, so there might be some neurological stuff going on there, but yeah, they're still progressing very nicely. This is a flat machine press. I've just ditched bench pressing. This is probably a topic for another video. So yeah, I won't yap about that right now, but yeah, machine press and fly on that day, and then I'll do an incline machine press and fly on the other day. Oh, and the pullovers. So that's basically the extent of my chest work. 2 to 3 sets of chest in a session. 3 now, because I think I've got pullovers on both days. Wide grip bodyweight pull-ups. Yeah, again, I've slowed the tempo right down on those to drop me back into like a 6 to 10 rep range, as just sort of my own form of progressive overload, because I was, you know, being a bit explosive with them before, so I thought, why not just slow it down instead of adding weight. And yeah, my rep range dropped down, and yeah, that's that basically. They're going really well. I really like them. I get a ton of like lower lat, which I've never really felt. And again, I'm not prioritizing my lats, but they are weaker than my upper back, so you know, it's something to consider. That was just pec deck again. And then yeah, this week I've reintroduced narrow grip pull downs. Again, this is kind of a, you know, I'm getting this kind of from the physiology world. You know, I'm not anti-science at all. I just don't tend to base all of my decision making on it. But you know, they talk about how muscle regions can be emphasized in different exercises, and I do believe that's the case. So in wide grip vertical pulls, you're going to be getting more lower lats, and then in sagittal vertical pulls, you're going to be getting more of that upper lat. And narrow grip is sagittal, wide grip is frontal. So if someone says I'm doing like a frontal plane pull and it's vertical, then it's going to be like a wide grip pull up, and then sagittal will be narrow. Yeah, sorry, I lost my train of thought there. There is, yeah, these are the stiff leg good mornings. My working weight is basically the same. The stiff leg is slightly more difficult, so I'm in a lower rep range on the stiff legs than I am with the normal good mornings, but yeah, I'm just using the same weight. They're very close. Leg extensions again. So again, these sessions are going to be just like pretty repetitive, especially as I'm basically at an AB setup already, and I can see myself already moving towards just one repeated session. So yeah, I mean, it'll be insanely repetitive, but that's fine by me. Like, that's not something I care about personally. But if I am to do these training vlogs, I might just like put up one of the sessions per week or something. Because I mean, this is like 35 minutes, and it's mostly the same stuff. I mean, that's the case for all training splits, right? You're just doing the same exercises as everyone else. It's just split up differently across the week. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, hamstring curls. Something worth mentioning on this is, you know, I don't go all the way down to like a full stretch. I just don't think it's necessary. Like, I find like peak tension is right just before that full stretch, and then plus you're getting all of the, you know, lengthened position work that you need from your hip hinges. So you don't need to do lengthened work again with a hamstring curl, you know what I mean? If you didn't have any hip hinges in your program, then sure, I could see the value in doing like a fully lengthened hamstring curl, just so you're hitting that, you know, position, if you're able to, like physically. But yeah, because I've got the stiff leg good mornings and even the regular good mornings, I don't need to be, you know, abusing the lengthened position on hamstring curls. And I feel like I get more out of them the way I do them anyway. This is another new one I picked up from, I just threw on an Elijah Mundy training vlog one day, as I was doing something, and I saw him do these, and I was like, you know what, I've got to try those bad boys. And yeah, I really like them, so they're now a staple for me. And you know, you could just do a dumbbell lateral raise, right? Like, is this going to make or break your lateral delt development? No, but then at the same time, is the stability going to help you, you know, take your lateral delts further into that failure point and recruit like the higher threshold motor units, or whatever the science people like to say? Honestly, yes, I do think so. I think it's not something to worry about when you're like new, but when you're well trained, like I'm 10 years in, technically speaking. The first 5 years were awful. You know, sporadic training. I'd train here and there and then not train at all for a year and then come back. So, you know, I never made it out of the noob phase. It's only, you know, if you want to be technical about it, like I've been locked in and actually known what I'm doing for 5 years, but my absolute training age is 10 years. I'm doing a load of different styles of training as well, so like I'm a very well trained person, and you know, all of my muscle fibers are very well trained, like even in the last 5 years, right? Even if we take the last 5 years. So these kind of things do actually make a difference for me at this point. Yeah, I've finally taken the adductor pill. I avoided it for ages because I did a ton of single leg work in the last few years, and I do think that, you know, I just coasted on that, but I'm finding them really helpful, and I'm using them sort of like as a hip mobility thing as well. So yeah, you definitely get on the adductor training, because I'm seeing great gains from it, and it's really helping my squats and everything like that. Hip mobility is improving, but I am sort of intentionally pursuing that as well. So, but you can improve hip mobility by using the adductor machine. So yeah, I'm really enjoying those. I'm not going to increase weight until I can increase range of motion until I can full stack it with my current range of motion, which is already way ahead of where I was. And then yeah, we're back to some more preacher hammer curls. But yeah, I mean, when I say I'm advanced, by the way, I'm talking strictly hypertrophy. Like, I am not a strength guy. Honestly, I'm embarrassingly weak, like piss weak, on the majority of things. And yes, strength and size are correlated, but they are different as well. And in terms of hypertrophy and, my genetic potential and how well trained I am, in terms of like, again, if we go back to like the physiology stuff, the motor units I have left to recruit and grow are, the highest threshold motor units at this point. Just because of, my training history and where I'm at, and, the hypertrophy progress I've had. So yeah, that's kind of the whole shebang. But yeah, when I say I'm advanced, I'm talking strictly hypertrophy. And if you're interested in strength, I'm not your guy. But yeah, hypertrophy, I can talk your ear off until the cows come home. But yeah, that's basically it. I can't believe I've managed to talk for half an hour. But yeah, if you made it this far, thank you very much. And yeah, I'll try and like bring a topic every time, if I can, that people might find helpful. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. So yeah, until next time.